Okay, guys, welcome back to the series of Gen AI. Hopefully, you remember where we started our discussion. Looking at least at the projector slide, you'll get just a recap of what topic we were in discussing, right? This was the topic we stopped our discussion, building and training a simple convolution neural network model from scratch without using libraries. Do you remember that? Okay. So in order to execute this task, these are the steps we found and listed. The first is defining the convolution and the max pooling operations. If you remember, this part was completed by us. We have executed successfully step by step, starting from the core convolution operation, then padding, then sliding. So fully padded slided convolution operation we performed well, right? Along with that, max pooling 2D operation also done. These two parts were executed. So the first step of this complete task, building and implementing the convolution operation along with the max pooling operation is done successfully. And what is the second step? Look at here, implementing the convolutional layer. Core operations were defined. Now the task is we need to build the convolution model and train the model for a sample data. So the second step is building the convolutional layer. So what is the meaning of what is to be implemented in this convolutional layer? We define what is a convolution operation. It is the addition of multiplicative terms between the convolving region of the input and the given kernel. That is a convolution operation. Similarly, max pooling operation also we define. Now the layer is to be built. What is it the meaning of layer? When you are building the model, we have to process this. The forward pass is to be implemented, and also for training the model, in order to update the variables and the parameters, we need to back propagate the gradients also. So when you are implementing, the meaning of implementing the convolutional layer is two steps it is involving course. One is the what happens in the forward pass, what will be happening in the backward pass, two things, right? So that is the thing we are doing right now in the today's session. Convolution layer implementation along with the forward and backward pass. Even within this concepts, within this step, the first part, forward part is completed. Do you remember? Thank you so much. So forward pass was completed. So we left over with what? Backward pass. Once we are able to understand what happening in the, how the back propagation will happen in the convolutional layer, then it will be easy for us to implement and write the code for this back propagation, so that we can finish up the task of implementing the convolution layer. Then we'll go to the next step of building the max pooling layer in the same way. So henceforth what we are doing? Building each level by level, whatever the supporting library, not the libraries, whatever the helper functions, that is the convolution layer, max pooling layer, and the supporting helper functions like the loss, activation function, reshaping layer, all these things we need to implement one by one with the two methods. One is the forward and the second is the backward method. Let's move on to this one. So, before moving into the implementation of this layer, first we need to understand about how the back propagation will happen in convolution. Am I correct? If we know this concept, it will be easy for us to write the lines of the code. Once we understand this, it is a matter of 4 lines of code only. Right, just let us focus on this concept right now. So, the topic that we are going to discuss now is the back propagation in convolution. Moving on to this, just have a recap of how the back propagation will happen in a simple neural network, what we discussed in the very first 2 weeks of this course session. Just have a recap of this one. So consider this equation f in terms of 3 parameters x, y, z, which is defined as x plus y into z. I took the same example for your convenience, what we discussed in the very first session. So for simplicity, we defined this equation f is q into z, multiplication of q and z, where q is addition of the inputs x and y. Simple thing, right? to process this equation, in order to process this equation, nothing but the forward pass of this equation, moving from left to right, what we will do? We will construct the computational graph. So if you, let us assume we constructed this simple computational graph for the same equations with the sample values taken is x, y, z inputs -2, 5 and -4. Let us see how the computational graph was built. So this q is the addition of x and y, so the value you got is 3. We are moving from left to right. And now this is with the addition of this z, this f is defined as the multiplication of q and z. So with the q value which we obtained from x and y, which was calculated just before, and the initial value of this z, so we are getting the value -12. So what you got, this f equal to -12 with the initial values of x, y, z, moving from left to right and calculate performing the specified operation at each node of the computational graph. What you got is the -12. This is forward pass, simple thing. Now let us do focus on the backward pass. What will happen in the backward pass? So backward pass, starting from right, we need to propagate the derivatives back to the initial inputs. At every gate we need to calculate these gradients, correct? Okay, let us see this simple thing. So just assume at the for simplicity, take the differentiation of this f, last value f, with respect to itself is this 1, simple, for simplicity only I took this example. Now what happens in the backward process, taking this derivative backward to the next gate at the previous. So derivative with respect to derivative of f with respect to q and z, we can get it, because f is defined as a multiplication of q and z. So what are the values of this df by dq and df by dz? Crisscross operation, because it's a multiplication. So what is the values you will get? df by dq, here is given the equations, df by dq is nothing but f is defined as q into z. So df by dq you will get zz is nothing but this -4. Similarly for dq by df, sorry, df by dz, cross value. So you got this derivative. These are the local values you are getting. So gradients at this multiplication gate, you got it back propagated. Fine, very good. What next step is? Initially, what is our intention? We need the gradients for our inputs x, y and z. Nothing but dou f by dou x, dou f by dou y and dou f by dou z. These are we need to calculate the gradient, so that we can update the input parameters x, y, z. With this step, you got the gradient dou f by dou z. Now what about by dou f by dou x and dou f by dou y? Can you get it directly? No, because this q is defined as addition of x and y. So from this local gradient dou f by dou q, you can get the dou q by dou x and dou q by dou y easily. But what is our intention? This is easy for you. But what is our intention? We need to calculate derivative of this with respect to derivative of f with respect to x and y, dou f by dou x and dou f by dou y. But what we got is dou q by dou x and dou q by dou y. Now how to calculate these things? So you have these derivatives, but what you need to calculate is this one, gradients of inputs x and y. Gradients for the inputs x and y. Already we got it for z. Now how to get it? From the chain rule of differentiation you can get it. Right. From the chain rule of differentiation you can get dou f by dou x is dou f by dou q multiplied with dou q by dou x. Until this part, so that with this equation now you are able to get the values this one. This part you had explored in the very first 2 weeks of sessions along with the exercises. So simple one. right? So whatever you did is the simple computational graph, so it's well. You just think about this CNN. CNN is a massive computational graph. Imagine it is a massive computational graph. Why I am saying is it is a massive computational graph? Obviously, deep neural network. And what is there in the CNN? Convolution operations. Okay. So imagine the CNN is a massive computational graph, and while moving on to the think about this forward and backward propagation on the CNN, let me give an overview of this one. If f is a function which is defined in terms of the input x and input y, which produces the output z, which is happening in the forward pass, when you think about the backward pass, after calculating this z value at the next level, you can calculate the loss value, right? Once you calculated the loss values, then what during the derivative part, what you will do, you start from dou L by dou z, correct, at this unit. So this is the derivative loss from the previous layer, which has to be back propagated to the every other node to the up to the stage of inputs. Correct. This is what we need to back propagate. Correct. So this dou L by dou S is the loss from the previous layer. That is very clear, no doubt about. Now from this, as this G is defined in terms of x and y, you can get the gradients. What is that? Dou Z by dou x and dou Z by dou y. Local gradients. From the input z, as this g is the local value, you can get the local gradients dou z by dou x and dou z by dou y. But what we need is the gradients dou L by dou x and dou L by dou y. Correct? Derivatives with respect to loss derivative with respect to the inputs x and y. So that you can update the parameters x and y, input parameters x and y. So how to calculate this one? Just now we discussed with the simple computational graph using the chain rule of differentiation from the local gradients and the loss from the previous layer dou L by dou z, you can get this one. This is clear. Now let me take you deeper into this concept. I just gave an overview of input x and y, which produces output g. Now what is this x and y? That I am taking you right now. So CNN is convolution neural networks is the convolution operation between the input and the filter, kernel. Both are matrices, not a simple values and simple equations. Okay, right. Let us assume the scenario of an example. You have an input of 3 by 3 input and a 2 by 2 filter. When this convolution operation is happening between this input, 3 by 3 input and 2 by 2 kernel or the filter, what is the shape of the output you would get? 2 by 2. N minus f plus 1 by. Right? 3 minus 2 plus 1 by. So 2 by 2 output you are getting. So when you are convolving a 3 by 3 input with 2 by 2 filter, you are getting an output O, which is a 2 by 2 matrix. So there are 4 elements in this matrix, O 1 1 1 2 2 1 2 2. Right? These are the 4 elements. So in the forward pass of this convolution operation means, with this case, you have to calculate the formulas. Apply the formulas for each of these variable in this output matrix. Correct? Let's see this. When this 2 by 2 filter is convolving in the 2 by 2 region of that input, it is doing the addition of multiplications. Element wise multiplication added together, you will get the convolved value. Correct? So the equations, if you look at here, O11 is, this one is the equation. You know very well, we already discussed and executed a code also. Thus we got 4 equations, O1 1 1 2 2 1 2 2 for the output matrix when it is convolving between the input and the filter. Clear? So this is what? Forward pass. Once this is done, now we need to think about the backward pass. That is a crucial step. This is very simple and easily understandable for you, right? I think you don't have any doubts about it. Now, I just replaced the previous earlier before picture with the actual values. Now, my inputs is input matrix X and the filter F with the convolving operations. It is not an addition, it is not a multiplication. Look at the symbol how we drawn here. Hope you are able to catch the difference of operator. Convolution operation. This is the addition of multiplication terms. Symbol is different, right? Which produces the output O. Just now we discussed in the previous slide, input X and filter F, which produces the output O, matrix O. Once this output is calculated, we'll do the loss calculation, and during the back propagation started calculating the gradients dou L by dou O, which is the loss to be back propagated for the next layers. Up to this point is clear. Same thing what we are discussing. Now coming to this one. From this O, which is in terms of X and F, you will get the local gradients what? Dou O by dou X and dou O by dou F. Correct? So dou L by dou O is the loss from the previous layer, and dou O by dou X and dou O by dou F are the local gradients. Once you calculate the local gradient, then it is easy for you using the chain rule of derivation. You can calculate the gradients for your inputs X and the filter F, so that both the inputs and the kernels can be updated easily once you got the gradient values for those with the help of learning rate parameter. Correct? Good. So here the step is, this is the well known concept to you. So our task is calculating dou L by dou F and dou L by dou X. Derivative with respect to input and derivative with respect to filter or kernel. Clear? Let me take you to the next step. So our task is finding the derivative of loss with respect to input X and with respect to filter F. Those are dou L by dou X and dou L by dou F. Let me take the first simple thing, dou L by dou F. This I am focusing first. So it is consisting of two parts. Deriving this part is a two-step process. What is the first step? Calculating the local gradients. What is the local value? O. From O you got the L, right? So what is the local gradient for F? Dou O by dou F. So calculate the local gradient first, dou O by dou F, and already you have the gradient from the previous layer, dou L by dou O. With this chain rule you can now get the dou L by dou F. Clear? Okay. This is important. So finding the local gradient dou O by dou F. This is also simple. What is O? For the given example which I have taken of 3 by 3 input and 2 by 2 filter, you will get 2 by 2 output. O 1 1 1 2 2 1 2 2. The same thing. Now this O 1 1. Let me take the first equation O 1 1. This is the equation. Now you need to derive this element or the equation with respect to the filter F. What is F? My F is a 2 by 2 filter with 4 elements, F 1 1 1 2 2 1 2 2. So I need to derive with respect to each of the 4 elements, correct? If I derive this equation with each of these 4 elements, what I would get? Can you guess? It's a simple thing. Correct. Respective inputs, can I say? Just like the crisscross operation, similar to close. Simple thing, no doubt here. The same way, we need to calculate derivatives of the rest of the output elements with respect to these 4 filter values. Right? I am not showing it here. Okay, done. Next step. So I have done the part of calculating the local gradient dou O by dou F. This is done. What is the next step? Dou L by dou F with applying the chain rule of derivation. Right. That is what. So I am calling it as a local gradient. Remember, these are the equations labeled A. Now the next step is chain rule, applying the chain rule. So by applying the chain rule, we can calculate this dou L by dou F, which is as with the equation. You know very well about this, we are discussing repeatedly. Dou L by dou O, which is the loss from the previous gradient, previous layer, multiplied with local gradient dou O by dou F. This dou O by dou F, just now I shown you how to calculate and we got the values also. Now the next step is multiplication of these terms together in order to calculate dou L by dou F. This is the task. Now here if you look at here concentratedly, this O is some matrix of some shape, right? And F is, okay, for our case 2 by 2 matrix, F is a 2 by 2 matrix. Derivation of one matrix with respect to another matrix, on top of it multiplication with the another matrix. How complicated it is? So we need to do it very carefully. For a simplicity, we have the equation. How to calculate this is, we can easily use this formula for doing this calculation, dou L by dou F. How we can do this? Our F is a 2 by 2 matrix with 4 elements, right? 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. Correct. So with respect to each filter, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, we need to calculate DL. So for every element of F, we are supposed to calculate this one. This logic has to be applied. This is how you are performing this one. Within this, here again what you are doing? Derivative of O with respect to F you are doing. And O is also another matrix with 2 by 2 size, correct? So for internally, for every element of O, you are supposed to do this for every element of F. Loops are there. Initially, for every element of F, outer loop. Right? Coming to this inner loop, for every element of O, you are supposed to do this multiplication. So for simplicity, the equation is for every element of filter, these terms, multiplicative terms, to be added for every element of O. Are you able to catch this? Okay, fine. So now what I am doing, if I expand this one, is it correct? Look at here. How many values? As I said, oh sorry, I'm going fast. Yeah. So here, as I said, F is 2 by 2 matrix, F 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 4 elements we are having. And O is also 2 by 2 matrix, O 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. If you expand these equations, then what you will get is these things. Now from these equations, you can make it simplified. What is that? Here within these equations, we already computed something in the previous slides. Local gradients we have already computed, right? What are the local gradients? Dou O by dou F's were already calculated. What is this dou O 1, 1 by dou F 1, 1? Corresponding input x1, 1. Remember? From that slide where I labeled local gradients A, if you substitute the values, what you will get is this one. Am I correct? Okay. Now just have a look on this one. There are 4 equations, dou L by F 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. Derivative of loss with respect to filter, clear. It's a 2 by 2 matrix, clear. So 4 equations we are getting for 4 elements, clear. How each of these equation is? Dou L by dou O, dou L by dou O. What is this dou L by dou O? Loss from the previous layer. That is also clear. These are, now look at each of these equations. Addition of multiplicative terms. Correct? Each is an addition of multiplicative terms. One of the term is loss gradient from the previous layer, fixed. Now what is the next term? x1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3 and 1, 3. What is that? X input itself, correct? Our input is a 3 by 3 matrix. Now can you guess what does these equations represent? Sorry? Product of what? Is it a simple product? Look at how these equations are. And compare how was the equations of O11 initially. When the filter F is convolved with the input X. Now tell me what these equations are. Addition of multiplicative terms between loss from the previous layer. Exactly. Isn't it the convolution between the output gradient and input? Yes, this is output gradient na? Dou L by dou 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. With the inputs X 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3. Now what you can say? Simple thing. Derivative of loss with respect to filter is nothing but the convolution operation between the input and loss derivative, loss gradient. Is it clear? Have you understood how we got this one? Okay? Any doubts? Yeah, please. You want me to go back for a while? Go back? Okay. I'll help you to understand better. Look at this. This is the convolution operation, right? Between input and F. How you are getting the values OF, O11, how you are getting? When this filter convolving on that particular input region, it is extracting the equation. How this equation is? With respect to those mapping elements of input region and filter, addition of multiplicative terms. Right? Now what the next step? Our intention is local gradient dou O by dou F. Output with respect to filter. So these elements we are this part, local gradient dou O by dou F. These elements we are deriving with respect to each of the filter. So because it is the multiplication, so you are getting respective inputs. For one equation I had shown. For the second equation, where x13 also is there, you will get the respective values, input values you will get. Fine. Once this is done, the next step is dou L by dou F is to be calculated. Our actual derivative of loss with respect to our one of the input called filter, which you can get it from the derivative chain rule application of the loss from the previous layer with the local gradient just we calculated. So for simplicity, this is the equation. For every element of filter, you need to add the terms which are multiplied with for every element of output. Okay, you just expand this equation. These are the equations that you are getting. When you substitute the local gradients that we already computed in the previous slide, these are the simple equations. What this representation is nothing but convolution of loss function with respect to O and the input in between these two. That's it. So what I am concluding, derivative of loss with respect to filter is the convolution between the input matrix X and the loss gradient from the previous layer. Now it is easy for you. Now can you guess what is dou L by dou X, derivative of loss with respect to input matrix X? Can't you guess it? Obviously chances for being a convolution. Up to that is sufficient. But not exactly the convolution similar to like this. Right? Let me take you to understand this one. So, moving on to the step of dou L by dou X. Same is the procedure, two-step process. One is the local gradient, second is dou L by dou X using the chain rule. Let's do the local gradient calculation dou O by dou X first. So, O is this equation. Earlier we did differentiation with respect to filter elements. Now I am doing with respect to input X, 9 elements, X1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. Of course, I don't have the values parameters for this 2, 1, 3, 2, 2, 2, 3. So, I can't do the derivation. Obviously, I will do the derivation with respect to 4 elements of input only. So, once I did, similar to like earlier, derivation of output with respect to input, you are getting respective filters. This is also simple. Similar way, you are supposed to calculate for the rest of the 3 elements of the output matrix. Up to this point is clear. Okay. Next step is common, what I discussed, using the chain rule of multiplication. There, for every element of filter we did. Now here, for every element of input we supposed to do. Okay. For every element of input, xi, we have the 9 values, 9 input parameters are there in our 3 by 3 input matrix. Okay. Obviously, we will get 9 equations. You can guess. So, dl by do and do by dx. Once you do this, 9 equations I would get, because I have 9 3 by 3 matrix. My input is a 3 by 3 matrix. Yes. Now just look at these equations. How these equations are. This one are simply multiplicative terms, and this by x2 with respect to x1, 2, 2, 2 are the addition of 2 multiplicative terms, and this one is addition of 4 multiplicative terms. My input is a 3 by 3 matrix, filter is a 2 by 2, and the output gradient which I obtained is also 2 by 2, lost from the previous layer. So now can you guess what this representation of this equation? How can I represent this equation? Earlier it was easy for me, dou L by dou F. We decided and concluded it was a convolution between input and the loss gradient, because it was very clear. Now looking at these equations, you can't guess exactly, right? You are not able to guess it exactly. Okay, I'll help you. Just flip your filter both vertically and horizontally. Nothing but 180 degrees of rotation of your filter. This is your filter F11122122. Flip it vertically and then horizontally. So what is the meaning of 180 degrees of rotation? The corner diagonal elements to be flipped. The meaning is, look at here, F11 is at the top left corner, it should come to the bottom right corner. The top right corner should come to the bottom left corner. So element should be flipped like this. That is the meaning of 180 degrees of rotation. So flip your filter, which is originally F11122122, 180 degrees rotation, first 90 degrees like this vertically and then horizontally. So once you did this, this is what the filter you will get it, right? F22211211. Now let me apply this filter, my 180 degrees rotated filter or flipped filter, with the loss gradient from the previous layer dou L by dou O 11122122, and just observe here how the convolution is happening. Just observe here. Isn't it the convolution? Yes, but not similar to the regular and the typical convolution where the filter size and the input region size is matching. So here the convolution is happening even with the partial overlapping of this loss derivative and the filter. You can observe here for how you are getting these equations, that overlapping regions you can see here. This is how you are getting those 9 equations in between these two. So what I did it here, I have taken the loss from the previous layer as it is lay, but what the change I made, filter is flipped, both vertically and horizontally. 180 degrees rotated filter is taken, and with each possible partial overlapping region I am convolving, so that I could be able to represent all those 9 equations which I got in the previous slide. Okay, so I am going to say this is the full convolution between, it's not the regular typical convolution. Typical convolution is all the time valid or same convolution with exact mapping of input size, but not the input filter with the convolving region of the input is overlapping exactly, then only you can calculate. But here even in the partial overlapping areas also we will get that value. This is what we are calling it as a full convolution. Clear? So how I am writing this dl by dx, derivative of loss with respect to input, is obtained by applying the full convolution operation between 180 degrees rotated filter and the loss from the previous layer. Understood? So finally what I am saying, both are convolutions. So convolutional layer, both the forward pass and backward pass, both are convolutions. Simply to say, derivative of loss with respect to filter is a regular typical convolution between input and the loss gradient, and the derivative of loss with respect to input is the full convolution between 180 degrees rotated filter and loss from the previous layer. Clear? We already defined a function and the method which will perform this convolution operation. Now the logic, you understood this logic of forward pass, and forward pass already we built. Now hope you understood how you will get the derivative of loss with respect to input and also with respect to kernels. So implement this as the logic. It's a 2 lines of code only. So the backward pass will complete. Okay, once you calculate the derivative for the kernel using the learning rate, you can update the kernel parameter. What about the bias? Bias also need to be updated. Am I right? Okay. So input gradient will be passed back to the next layer. Right? Let me help you to calculate the bias gradient also, so that I will take you to the code part. How the bias gradient will be calculated? I present it in front of you as an example case. See, this picture I shown in the last session also, you just try to get it here. During this convolution operation of 3 channel, for every output channel, nothing but the depth, for every input channel, it will perform the convolution operation. So red channel of the input convolved with this one, and the green channel like correctly, plus additive terms, at last one bias term is added. This will happen for each of the output kernel, correct? For each of the output channel, one bias term would be there. So, what this same is the logic we had implemented. Look at here. If you have the biases, your convolution is layer having 3 output channels, 3 channels here, 3 filters you had applied. So obviously your output of the convolution layer has 3 channels. Assume it as, so your biases will be defined accordingly. How will you define the biases? I said 1 per 1 channel. So you have 3 channels. So your bias dimension should be 3 by 1 by 1. What is this 1 by 1? 1 per each of the channel. How many channels you are having? Your depth is 3. You had applied 3 channels, 3 output channels. So 3 by 1 by 1 is the bias. Right? Just assume this your output gradient from the previous. Now we need to talk about the bias gradient. When you are talking about the bias gradient, it is based on the output gradient received from the previous layer, loss gradient received from the previous layer. Just assume your loss gradient received from the previous layer is output gradient, which is of the shape 3, height and width. 3 is your channels. How many channels you had applied? Those many only you will get. That is fine. Second 2 is height and width corresponding to image. So what it is? It's a 2 by 2 mapping. Okay, height and width 2 by 2 mapping. Just assume this is an example in front of you. Okay, this is the output gradient that you received from the previous layer. Now your task is calculate the bias gradient based on this output gradient. You got dou L by dou O. Now bias gradients is to be calculated. Dou L by dou B, bias is to be calculated. Correct? So what is the logic for calculating the biases is, the first step is sum the gradients across the spatial dimensions. That is the point. I intentionally made it is invisible, darken that cell because I am expecting you to write this code. That is the line of the code. But I provided all the stuff required to you. So what you are supposed to do, how to calculate is bias gradient is, you have to sum all the gradients across the spatial dimensions. This is the example which I gave you for you. This is output gradient, assume it. Output gradient of the shape 3 by height by width. Assume this height by width is a 2 by 2. In this case, I took it as a 2 by 2 mapping. 3 by 2 by 2 mapping. This is the dimension which we have taken. With this, what is the meaning of calculating the gradients across the, summing all the gradients across the spatial dimensions, both horizontally and vertically, meaning that with respect to height and width, these elements to be summed. If you sum these 4 elements, what would be the value you will get? 10. Correct? That's what I shown here. You can hear. For the channel 1, you would get the value summing all those 4 elements across the 10. Next, channel 2, channel 3. Thus, you will get, keeping the dimensions as it is, you need to sum up the gradient across the spatial dimensions. This will be your bias gradient. I gave you the example and I am expecting you to write the line of the code which will do this job. Clear? Okay. Now, it's okay. Once you did this using the learning rate, given the learning rate from the bias gradient which was calculated earlier, you can update the biases so that you will get the updated biases. Fetch the assignment 8. Already open. You can find an assignment. So assignment 8, PSEL CNN assignment has been shared. Could you please someone confirm? Are you able to access it? Fine. How many of you are opened? Raise up the hands. Everyone in this session need to complete the task. What about the last rows, guys? Yes. PSEL CNN assignment 8. Just have a look on this one. So this convolution 2D is the operation which already defined in the last before session itself. No changes made. You just refresh back once again to catch up how the logic was initiated. Given an input matrix and the kernel with the optional padding and striding. So you have to perform the convolution operation. By looping over the size of the output, the dimensions of the output, which is led by the stride parameter. So first of all, we need to get the region of the input matrix, convolving region of the input matrix. Then by performing the element wise multiplication and summing those elements, torch dot sum of region multiplied with kernel, you will get the output matrix. So which will return your output matrix. Now coming to the concept of implementation of convolutional layer in the torch code. So as we discussed till now, consisting of two parts. One is the forward pass and the second is the backward pass, along with the initialization of the constructor init method. This constructor method and the forward pass already we discussed in the last session itself. Have you noticed any changes? Guys, did you notice any changes in this code? I made two simple changes in this forward pass and the init method, constructed method, which is different, small variation from the earlier code. Okay, let me help you to catch the differentiation. Just have a look on this one. This self dot biases. Do you remember how these were initiated in the last session? Let me give a brief of this convolution constructor method itself. Given the input shape, kernel size and the depth, number of channels or the number of filters to be applied. So look at how these instance parameters are there defined. From this input shape, you will get three parameters, which is iterable. One is the input number of channels. If it is a color image, 3. Okay, right. Next, input height and width. This you will get from the input shape. Then this depth itself is the depth of the your convolution operation, nothing but the number of filters to be applied. Now the input shape, input depth, output shape is defined. What is the output shape? Now how many channels we had applied? This picture will help you, as I explained earlier, the previous session itself. I cannot repeat again and again. I told one important point. Assume this channels notation is to be as per the torch compatibility. Okay, compatibility. You supposed to consider this as 3 by 32 by 33, and this filter operation. The slide 5 by 5 is the filter size, 3 is the color channel, this 4 is the number of filters, nothing but your depth. 4 filters I am applying. This you need to assume 4 by 3 by 5 by 5 as a compatibility to the torch tensors. So that you will get the output dimension 28 from 32 by 32 image with 5 by 5 filter of stride equal to 1, you will get the output shape 28 by 28. This already we discussed, getting the dimensions of the output by the convolving operation. So the output shape is depth should come first, then input shape, applying this logic formula with the input and the given kernel size, what could be the output shape? Input minus kernel plus 1 by, right? So you got this output shape. Now the kernel shape is defined. How the kernel shape is? Same as similar like from this kernel 4 by 3 by 5 by 5. How did you got this another kernel? 8 by sorry, correct. So how you are defining this kernel shape, that is also important. So if the dimension of depth and input depth and then kernel size, both will come first. Number of channels we had applied, that is the depth, and local input depth, right? And then kernel height and width. Once we define these two, now we are able to initialize these kernels and biases. Kernel is defined as a torch tensor with the random normal distribution of the shape, kernel shape. And bias is also in the last session I had initialized with the random normal distribution of the output shape, if you remember. Now I changed it. What I discussed here, one bias should be defined for each of the channel, that what I said in the just before session, just before I told you, right? So now what I did the change is started at random of depth and one by one bias term each for the channel, which is of type float. This is the change which I made from the earlier code. That's it. And accordingly, the respective change which I made here is, now output is defined as the torch.d rows. So what I did in the last session, anybody? Cloning. Remember? Torch.clone was used, which matches the shape of the biases. Now biases, how it is defined? One for each of the channel which I changed. Now accordingly, this has to be changed. Now the output is initialized as torch.zeros of output shape. Simple. Okay. And with the output is calculated with the convolution operation between input for each of the channel j and the corresponding the kernel ij, index position ij. For this, now the bias term is added. That's what I shown in this picture in the previous PPT slide. One bias term will be added at the last. Now this updated output is returned. That's it. Simple change. Okay, now it is very clear. Now your task is implement this backward pass. Anybody? Okay. Steps also given here. So how to implement this backward method? What you are supposed to calculate? You have to calculate the kernel gradients and input gradients and bias gradients. Three things is to be calculated. Input gradient is to be returned. This will be the output gradient for the next corresponding layer. So you remember the thing, how I am using the notation, signature in the methods. Backward pass, output gradient is the gradient that we are receiving from the previous layer. Remember this. Output gradient is the input for this. From here, what is going out will be the input gradient. Name of the variable will be the input gradient. Am I clear? Okay. Upon receiving the output gradient from the previous layer and the defined learning rate, we are doing the backward propagation, which will do what? Which calculate, one is the kernel's gradient, second is the input gradient which will be returned, and the third one is the bias gradient. Now this kernel gradient and bias gradient, using this learning rate, I will update the kernels and biases. I have to do this, correct? Okay. So two things you need to calculate, kernel's gradient and input gradient, and then also bias gradient. How will you calculate this kernel gradient? I said derivate dou L by dou F, recollect it from the slide. Convolution between, so kernel's gradient is the convolution between what? No, dou L by dou F I'm talking about with respect to filter first. Typical convolution between input and the loss from the previous gradient, that is what? Output gradient. It's so simple thing, do that. We already defined this, convolution 2D is the method. I provided the code, I didn't do any modifications in that one, that is executing perfectly. You already defined that, so I provided this code for you. Convolution 2D is to be called between input and output gradient. What is this input? Output gradient is provided here. Now you need to think of that logic. Look at the forward pass, how it is defined. loop over each of the output channel. For each of the filter, depth is nothing but the filter, output number of channels. Within each, one more inner loop, for each of the input channel. What is the input channels? If it is a color image, 3 channels you would get. So the input is, look at here, input Z. With the kernel indexing is IJ. You are calculating input of I for that output channel. Looking at the forward pass, you can get the idea how to write this backward. I gave you the derivative part along with these equations in the explanation part itself. Now the derivative will loop over what? What could be the loop over variables? So it is easy for you to calculate the kernel gradient, right? Next step is input gradient. Okay? So here you are supposed to do 2 things. One is the kernel gradient, second is the input gradient. Kernel gradient equal to is to be calculated and input gradient, 2 things to be done. So kernel gradient is the convolution between convolution 2D between, you already said, with this input J and output gradient. That's clear. Now coming to the input gradient, what I said? Full convolution between flipped filter and the loss gradient. How to do that flipping? That was given in the description itself. So first of all, you need to get it. So we don't have the another method full convolution, no need. We already have the method defined is the convolution. So what you are supposed to do, use the same convolution today which we defined, flip the filter, use the flipped filter and the input, sorry not the input, derivative, but derivative size has to map with the, so padding is to be defined which maps with the input. Padding is to be defined, that's it. Okay, how to do, so before this, so I am giving an overview, convolution 2D between, one is the flipped filter, input, comma, flipped filter, one internal variable you are supposed to calculate, comma, and define the padding. So before this, first of all calculate flipped filter. How to get the flipped filter? Description is given. Look at here. Torch.flipIt is the method which helps you to reverse the order of the elements in the tensor along the specified dimensions axis. So what you are supposed to define? Which torch tensor you want to flip? What do you want to flip? What do you want to flip? That filter you want to flip. Okay? Filter and the dimensions you are supposed to specify. DIMS is the variable which takes a tuple or the list. So I said with 2 dimensions. Both the dimensions 0 and 1 axis vertically and horizontally. So DIMS equal to a tuple with the dimensions mentioning 0 and 1 or 1 and 0, whatever the order you follow. Now this has to apply. However you did this in the forward pass, a similar way you are supposed to do. 2 nested for loops will come. Anybody completed? We already defined forward pass. It is not that difficult. It is there in itself. However, you did the forward pass, same way you supposed to do the backward. Across each of the output channel, for each of the input. This logic is already defined for the forward method. What is this? For I in range of self dot depth. Depth is number of output channel. Loop over the all each of the output channel. Again we need to loop over each of the input channel. So that is what 2 nested for loops. So that we calculate the output for that channel, which is the cumulative sum of convolution operation between input of that local input channel and the kernel of the index position output channel and this input, kernel ij. We already defined the forward pass. Listen the last session lecture once again if you are not able to recollect afterwards. You only did this part. So in the similar way you need to back propagate. We already derived the steps. So loop over the same thing across each of the output channel and within this each of the input channel. We have to calculate the kernel's gradient, flipped filter and then input gradient. Once you got the flipped filter, you will get the input gradient. Anybody? But bias gradient should be out of the loop. This is one per our channel only. You cannot keep the bias gradient within the loop. 3 things we need to calculate: kernel gradient, then flipped filter. This flipped filter will help you to calculate the input gradient. Once you got these 2 things within the loop, out of the loop you are supposed to calculate bias gradient. Bias gradient is nothing but summing of the torch elements over the spatial dimensions. You already have the bias defined here, initialized. Look at here, depth comma 1 comma 1. This is your input bias shape. And you have the output gradient already with you. Once you got the bias gradient, next step is updating the parameters. What you can update? 2 things you can update. Anyhow, input gradient you are returning. Okay. So bias and the kernels to be updated. The variables which I took is self.kernel, self.biases. So self.kernels, is it minus equal to or plus equal to? Updating the parameters with respect to the learning rate which I already provided. Learning rate into what? How to update the kernel? Parameter updation equation. Once you calculate the kernel's gradient, okay, do it. Similarly, self dot biases. These are the parameter names which I took. Learning rate multiplied with the gradients whichever you are calculating for the bias and the inputs. Anybody? Anybody able to complete? If you ask me where you are starting, I can help you and guide you. Are you able to complete this step, kernel's gradient? However, you are doing the forward pass, same way you are supposed to do the backward pass. Loop over the number of output channels. For each of the output channel, loop over the number of input channels. Thus you will get the input gradient and kernel gradients. Oh, thank you. Sadhika Prasanna. Can you raise up the hand? Oh, you are able to catch the logic? Are you able to catch the logic? Thank you. If anybody is stucking anywhere, I can guide them. But you have to come forward, ask me where you are stucking. Most of you guys are not listening carefully. Almost all the solution is here itself. You perform the forward pass with two loop variables. Loop over the number of channels, output channels, self dot depth. For each of the output channel, loop over the input depth, so that you will get the iterating variable ij. So your kernel will be indexing ij. Input gradient you can calculate for j with respect to the kernel ij. Now calculate the kernel gradient j. Sorry, kernel gradient ij. And the input gradient j. I am not writing the complete code, just I am giving you an idea. Once you did this, out of the loop you have to calculate the bias gradient. Once done, you can update the parameters. Okay, let me see how many of you will do this. Good. Few more I got. 4 gradings. Okay, 4 members are able to do. Almost all the solution code is revealed. Anybody stucking at calculating the bias gradient? So I already told you, keeping the dimensions as it is, you have to sum up the elements of the torch tensor. Whatever the loss gradient that you are receiving from the previous layer, those elements to be added together by keeping the dimensions as it is, so that you will get that. Make it fast. Okay, 8 members are able to do successfully. See, remember, every time please remember that you know very well how to use the CNN models using libraries, but learn here itself how to build from scratch, so that it will be easy for you to do the more research work on this. You can explore a lot of projects with this knowledge. Understanding this is very important thing. I am taking you so easily from the concept with an example. I am making you to derive the logic. So we have half an hour time only. Okay. Just all of you just to take a break. You can do this one. 5 minutes of session, give me 10 minutes of time so that I can explain one more thing and we'll release one more simple exercise. Both we can finish up in the today's session itself. Let me take you to the next part. Okay, very good. And I'll give you time to finish up that one. Meanwhile, let me explain you one more simple thing so that we will be able to complete the core concept of this convolution. So we have seen how the forward and backward propagation will happen in the convolution layer. The next important thing is pooling layer. Rest of the part is very easy. Hopefully you already done this part in the DL sessions itself. Implementing forward and backward parts of the rest of the helper functions, activation function like sigmoid, ReLU or something, and loss, binary cross entropy loss, all these things. Okay. The crucial thing is like CNN convolution, back and forward propagation in the pooling layer. Right. Let me explain. Just listen. So just have a look on this forward pass of this pooling layer, max pooling layer. I am talking about the max pooling with the simple, with a little constraint. With the constraints we are doing this one. So we are going to build the model, very basic model with the constraint and a simple image data. Okay, not for the complicated. So whatever the example I am giving, the same way I had implemented. We need to extend it accordingly, right? So just have a look on this one. When you are performing this max pooling operations on the input 4 by 4 with the pooling window 2 by 2 and the striding 2 by 2, how it will perform? When this pooling window strides over that input, from that region, it will take what? Max pooling layer, maximum value from that region, correct? What is the maximum value? 5, that is taken. Next stride 2 by 2 is defined. So both horizontally and vertically 2 positions it will stride. Moved. Next window this will be. From that region again maximum value. Similarly horizontally and vertically both stride 2 by 2. This is what you are getting. So that is what? Pooled output after this pooling operation. Correct? Now remember carefully. This is what we know till now what happens with the max pooling layer. Allow not only taking the maximum values from that regions, it will do one more step. What that is, the index positions of the input matrix from where it brought that maximum values also to be recorded. Listen carefully. If you listen, then it will be easy for you to implement the logic. So this 5 I got it from this region index position. It's not such an easy, simple thing. You have to do one internal step is there behind this one. When this pooling window is overlapping the input region, from that region it will extract the index position and making it adjust to the entire input for the current input position, so that you will get 0, 1. This 5 you got from this index position 0 through first column. Next this 8 you got from the first row third column, 1, 3. So along with this pooling output, which is a matrix with the maximum values, there will be one more matrix that is called the max indices. Each element of this matrix is a tuple which stores 2 values, both row and column position of that maximum value where it is brought from the input matrix. This is very crucial thing. The max indices is a matrix whose elements are the tuples. Remember carefully. Listen carefully. So max indices is a matrix with the index position 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. What are the values in this math indices? Index positions of the input matrix from where these max values were bought. So first element is 5. 5 is bought from the position of the input matrix 0, 1. That index values will be there in this one. This has to be recorded during this max pooling operation. If you are able to do this, then it will be easy for you for back propagation. Now how the back propagation will be done in the max pooling layer? There are no parameters, number parameters in the max pooling layer. You no need to update anything. Only the gradients to be calculated and back propagated. That is important. No parameter updation in the max pooling layer. Why? Because it is just downsampling the output of the convolution operation. Nothing it is doing. No parameter updation. Only the thing is gradients to be back propagated to the next layer. That is only its job. How it is back propagating is this logic. So upon receiving the output gradient from the previous layer, let us say suppose we are receiving the output gradient 2 by 2 with these are the gradient values. What happens with the back propagation of max pooling layer is, if you see, this input gradient we are supposed to derive, calculate, compute, which is of the same shape of the input matrix. From the index positions where it bought these maximum values from the input matrix, same index positions which we already recorded in the previous slide, these gradients will be taken back. Got it? This is what called back propagation. You understood? Derivatives values, whatever it is receiving from the previous layer, those values will be taken into the input gradient to those positions in the input matrix from where it got the maximum values. For those positions only it need to be sent. I already recorded the positions 0, 1, 1, 3, 2, 2 and 2, 0. For those positions only these values will be taken. So in order to do this, during the forward pass, we need to record the maximum index positions. Once this is done, rest of the elements will be filled with 0 because they are not involving in the computation. Only the maximum values are involving in the forward pass computation. So rest of the values will be 0. This is back propagation in max pooling layer. Is it clear? Is it clear all of you? You only need to implement the logic. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. So in order to do this, during the forward pass, I am repeating again. When it is convolving, sorry, not the convolving, performing the pooling operation on striding over the input, for each of the region it will record the maximum value. Along with recording the maximum value, it will record the index positions as well. Now these index positions will help you where to move those gradients which are received from the previous layer. To those positions only these values to be moved, these values. And rest of the element positions of the input gradient will be filled with zeros. Thus is the back propagation in max pooling layer. Now I am releasing one more exercise, that is assignment 9. Keeping on 8 and also active. Both 8 and 9 you have to complete. It's sufficient time is there. Assignment 9 released successfully. Okay. Now have a look on this max pooling function. So whatever the logic I discussed just now, the same way the max pool function was max underscore pool 2D. The basic version of max pool 2D already we defined in the earlier session itself. For recording this maximum indices, a small part of the code is introduced. Look at here. We initialized the max indices max indices we have to initialize of the dimension of what? Output height and output width. Index positions. How you got this index position? Same as the shape of the output matrix only. Pooled output matrix is 2 by 2 we got. Same is the index matrix also, max indices. So max underscore indices is another tensor we are going to get, which are initialized with 0 or along with the output matrix of same dimensions, output height and width. But look at this third dimension 2. What does it mean 2? I told you in the example slide itself what this is 2 indicating. What is each value in that indices matrix? It's a tuple. What I said? Each value in that matrix is a tuple with row number and column number. So that is the reason why the third dimension is 2. It is recording both the row and column. So that is the difference you need to understand. And as these are the index positions, indices only, its data type should be integer, torch integer. It should not be float. Indices shouldn't be float. Okay, that's one step we did. And another thing is, this part we already implemented in the max pooling function itself. What is that? Maximum of region. In the convolution operation, multiplication of terms is calculated and added together. Here only max is to be picked. So torch.max of that region is calculated. Then this is important. Look at here. This is the added code with the previous last session. What we are doing is, region equal to max values. What it is returning? I said during performing the max pooling operation, from the input one region will be taken. 2 by 2 region of the pool size, filter size. Okay? With that region, when it is operating, that particular region itself, first index will be taken. Let me explain with this logic once again. With the PPT itself. Just have a look on this one once again. Okay. First, the region is this one. Input region is this one, that yellow highlighted. From that, where is the maximum value found? Index position is 0th first column. Okay, that is clear. For the second time, when it is strided to the next striding position, window has been changed. Now the window is only that region. So you have to assume that the yellow highlighted is 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. Am I kidding? Am I clear? Every time region is changing. So from this region, what is the highest value is 8. This you got from which index position? 1, 1. From the small highlighted yellow region, the index position that you got is 1, 1. That is from that region. But it has to be adjusted to get the actual index position from the input matrix. How you can do these adjustments? For the current index positions of this input matrix Ij. What is the starting position of this region in the matrix? 0, 2. In the input matrix, the starting position of that region in the input matrix itself is that 3. Where is the 3 value? 0, 2. 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, correct, 0, 2. This 0, 2 is to be added to your index position of 1, 1. So that you will get 1, 3. This is how you got this index position 8, 1, 3. That is the logic. That logic, whatever I explained, now you need to implement there. I'll explain for one more case if you want. For this region, the last corner region, that region is again the part only you have to consider. 6 is 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. The highest value you got from the 6. 6 is index position 0, 0 for that region. This region has to be adjusted to the input. What is the index? This region in that input starting position is 0, 1, 2, 2, 2. Now 0, 0, 2, 2 is added together, you will get 2, 2. Thus you got the index position 2, 2. This adjustment is to be done. Okay, hopefully you are able to understand. Now implement the logic for this one. So, yeah, now I am coming to this part. So, you need to find the max indices of the maximum value. For each of that region where you got this maximum value, so this region equal to max value will give you a Boolean matrix of that 2 by 2 region. From this Boolean matrix, non-zero method will return the index positions where you have the true. You want the first occurrence. If there are same values repeated, first occurrence is sufficient. You want the index position of the first occurrence. So slicing of 0. Is it clear what it is doing? From each region where you are getting that maximum value, we are considering the Boolean matrix and taking the non-zero method will take the true values, index positions of the trues from that first occurrence. That is what your max index position is recording. Now this max index position is adjusted to the input, what I explained now, with the current index positions of the entire input matrix Ij. So that the tensor is getting created, max index of 0 plus I, max index of 1 plus j. So that you will get the elements in the max indices matrix. Each element is a tuple which is having a row and a column where you brought that maximum value from the input. Now it's clear to you, hope. Let's come to the forward pass and backward pass. Forward pass is very easy, just have a look on it. Store the input matrix for later use. Fine. Where you got the input matrix? Here it is. Take it into the reference variable. Good. Next is call the external max pooling layer which computes the max pooling output and store the indices. So you just already max pool function is defined here itself, it is provided to you. Now call this max pooling for the given input matrix and the kernel size and the striding which is given to you. What it is returning, look at here, two things it is returning, output matrix and max indices. So we already taken two variables, self dot output matrix and max indices. So that's what we need from this forward pass. So forward pass is returning output matrix and max indices I am going to use in the backward method. Now what you supposed to do in the backward method? What I shown in the second slide. You have these output gradients. Okay? Your output gradient you are having. Just recollect what I shown in the slide itself. Whatever the gradient values are there, those values has to be taken into the input gradient for the index positions which are taken from the max indices which we are computing the forward pass. Okay. Now the point of discussion is, here for consistency I am using the variable learning rate. But as I said, pooling operation is not doing any parameter updation. You can skip this also, but consistency of professional formatting, we just used the learning rate. We are not going to use it and we are not updating any parameters. Anybody? Let me see. So you have only 10 minutes, not the 10 minutes, more than 5 minutes, only 5 minutes of session. Let me see, anybody can finish this. Both of these need to be completed. Think about it. So finish both the assignments 8 and 9 so that we could be able to finish implementing the convolution layer and the max pooling layer. In the next class, we will see the rest of the layers. 2 submissions are there, Samskruti and Bharadwaj Reddy. Can you raise up the hand, Samskruti and Bharadwaj Reddy? Okay. Are you able to catch the logic? They are not copied from anywhere, right? Thank you. No, my intention is you want to think it logically. That's what only. I can't do anything if you are copying from other sources. Nothing is there to do with you. But just we are struggling hard to make you to learn from scratch. That's the reason why we are explaining with an example, illustrating with an example. Remember what had happened in those 2 slides. Storing that index positions in another matrix along with the output matrix of the max pooling pulled output. Now for those index positions only we need to send these elements of this output gradient. We already have the elements, values in the output gradient. Nothing is to need to calculate. You want me to evaluate? 8? Sure. So let me see the activities and assignment 8. Okay, good. 33 gradings. Assignment 8. I am hoping that all these 33 submissions are yourself only, not copying from other sources. Whether it is 5 or 10, I don't bother about it. I want you people to learn about it, to learn the concept. Please do not copy from others. Okay, even in this pooling layer also 6 submissions, gradings are there. Hope you all 6 members able to implement the logic by yourself. Done? Still anybody need any part of explanation? I can be. Okay, 12 gradings were there. Okay guys, we can leave for today. Rest of you guys, you can leave. We'll meet again in the next session, continuation of the same topic. Meanwhile, submit all these assignments, these 2 particularly. So it will be easy for us to complete the entire task of building the CNN.